Hey, Kim, can you hear us?
Yes. What?
Awesome. How you doing?
I'm technologically inept and my husband left.
What was that?
Okay.
I don't know what you're laughing at, but you're making me laugh. So
I'm technologically inept and my husband left and I felt like I got,
well, you're on here. So. You figured something out.
I did. I figured something out.
Oh gosh.
Hey, Teresa.
Hey,
How you doing?
how's everybody?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm all right. Just
Yeah.
going from one to the next.
I know. You've had a tough time.
Oh yeah. Well, today's, I don't know where it went. Am I still here?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Oh, Elise and I have been going since 7 this morning.
Oh, wow.
And then Cammie's debit card got locked in the ATM and
Oh man, what a
and then another friend of mine from another organization just got off about an hour-long phone call with him. So here I am with you. So
you now get to join us.
So you look like you've had a good winter down in Mexico.
Yeah, that was a nice little break, except, the issue is like you come home and I'm like, oh man, now I'm so behind on everything.
Oh gosh.
So it was a giant game of trying to play catch up once I got home. But yeah, it was a nice few days, warm weather. So
yeah, good. So is Cammie on yet? I can't see anybody
not
else.
yet.
Are we?
Nope,
I don't know how this works. Do we get big or do we? I don't even know if I'm on video.
It's not coming on.
There.
Your video is not on, but you can turn it on if you want.
Oh, I don't care. I have it on.
Okay.
Fine. I'll just I don't know. I don't know how to do that is the problem. And if I try, I'll probably lose you. So
if you want me to turn your video on, I can, because I'm the host.
Yeah, turn me on.
Okay.
I'll be a part. I won't.
Hello, Teresa.
Oh, I gotta say okay.
It's not coming on.
Okay. No, it won't. I gotta go. I gotta okay it through my camera. I don't know how to do that. Hang on.
Oh yeah, Zoom needs access to your camera. It's somewhere in your settings, but I don't know exactly where.
Yeah, I don't know even how to get to my settings without losing y'all.
Okay, well you can just do audio. That's fine.
Okay.
George had to reboot his computer, so we're waiting on him, and I know there's a few others that want to join, so we'll wait a few more minutes before we get started. But appreciate you guys joining us on a Sunday.
Sure.
Hopefully not interrupting anybody's football watching. My team, the 49ers, starts at 4:30 my time, so I was like, I told Melissa,
that's our team too.
Is it? Well, and George is the Cowboys, so me and George are up against each other today.
Well, didn't you say you grew up around here? And I'm in Bay Area.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell them I cannot get on.
It was I was watching, I grew up watching Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and all those guys, and like the dream team.
Can't get on. Cammie can't get on.
Well, just I don't know. Tell her to follow that link in the.
That's what I did. It's not coming up on hers.
I have Teresa again. Is that? I think Cammie's with her.
No, Cammie's at home.
Oh, she is?
Yeah. I'm at home. I'm sitting at my kitchen table on my laptop.
I see that. I see your cabinets.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know
I
what to
was
tell her
over-
because everybody else has been able to join, so.
Yeah. I was over there by that house the other day, Debbie Sue's. And
Yeah,
I got bad vibes. I could see him murdering her and pulling her back to the yard, but I couldn't see a face. And I deleted that picture off my phone. I said, no, that's bad vibes. No, no, no. It just scared me when I seen it. You know, I said, nope.
yeah. It's very eerie to occupy the space, you know,
Yeah.
that a victim did at the end of their lives. It's just
Yeah.
a very strange feeling to be in
Well,
that
my
same
daughter was right over
spot.
there at Arrow Care picking up her Z-Pap, Jennifer, and it's just right
Okay.
there on the corner next to it. And it's like,
Yep.
no, no, no. And I texted her, I said, we need to hurry up and you need to come on. We need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And when she finally got out there, I explained to her why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awkward. It's weird, you know, it's just awkward. And
It is.
but it will speak to you, like, you know, when you saw me, George, and Melissa were there on site, and it's like we learned a lot by
Yeah.
going there. So that was helpful.
And I can't understand why they hadn't already solved this. That just,
Well, that's what we'll talk a little bit about that.
it just blows my mind. Lubbock PD's slow about stuff. How's your weather there, Jennifer?
Oh my gosh, it's freezing.
Well, we're supposed to have anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of snow Tuesday.
Is that right? We're getting some tonight again.
Oh,
It's been like every
Lord,
other day we get snow.
it's
And
crazy.
Wednesday it was so bad. Well, our yard drifted and I was like, I know I can't get my car out of here, so I couldn't go to work. But
I don't drive in it.
I don't mind. My car just has low clearance, so if there's more snow than 4
Yeah.
inches, my car's not gonna want
It's
to
not
get
gonna go nowhere. It's gonna stay stuck.
pretty much, yeah. So, but when my husband's home, he can plow me out, but he was gone this week, so I got stuck, but that's all right.
That's good.
Well, I sent Cammie a message, said she should maybe reboot whatever she's using.
She's trying.
Okay.
I'm still trying to get on.
I've got her on the phone on speaker.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I heard her too.
Georgia fake profile did join for a second and then he left. So.
Yeah. I see him up here on the top.
Is that, I saw that guy. Yeah.
Our chess player. I'm like, yeah, you're not fooling anybody.
Wait,
Just this
is-
week, I was able to finally sit down with the new stuff. I'm dog sitting, so I'm in house arrest. So
Oh,
I did sit down with that, and I noticed some weird, some
Yeah.
people caught my eye on that.
Jen, that's a fake profile?
He's not in here now. He left, but that Pratik guy, the chess player,
He's in Judy's group and he comments. I didn't know that.
he's in all of our groups. He's our
Oh.
internet troll, I think.
Okay.
that-
We have a couple of them, but I'm pretty sure we
Yeah,
know
there
him.
was another one that was even worse.
Yeah.
Do you know who it is?
Yeah, he tried to
Try to
he
what?
tried to friend me on Facebook. We think we know.
Oh, tell me send me a message. I want
He's
to know.
friended me on Facebook or tried.
Yeah. It comes with the territory. We have trolls in every group and people that just, I don't know, they get the rocks off on harassing people or trying to disrupt. I don't know what the deal is.
Oh, true.
But at the same time, you never know if that person's the killer or knows what happened. And so we just let them do their thing for the most part. George and I have a rule that, we rarely kick people out of groups, and that's why, because you just never know who's gonna slip up or say
Right.
something.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we've had to kick a couple out of our other group they just got beyond obnoxious and like offensive and, you know, launching personal attacks against other group members and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and
like, yeah.
it's
we're
like
not
I was
gonna-
telling Cammie, Jennifer, I watch all these first 48 hours, true crime, locked up, you know, stuff like that. And I know it don't really happen in that amount of time because that's on TV. And it's like when Cammie was telling me about this one, I said, oh, wait a minute, let me go read up on this. And that's what
Mhm.
piqued my interest.
Okay, it's reconnected.
It's
Okay,
reconnected on hers.
I
But
got you.
it just piqued my interest because I'm watch all this. And my daughter says, I watch all these and I know how to hide a body and nobody gonna find them. I thought, don't go there.
So my husband always says, he's like, well, I know I'm never gonna make you mad. I'll just disappear.
Okay, Cammie's coming up.
All right,
Okay, can everybody see me?
I can hear
Oh,
you.
I can hear you.
Hang on. Hang on. Okay,
I see the
Oh,
top of your
Yeah.
head.
sorry,
A
I'm laying
little bit.
down. Sorry, I'm
There you
laying down.
No, I ain't loud.
Yeah. I guess, George, I'll just start, but I mean, I wish I had some awesome update for everybody, but I don't. We're very much stuck up against a brick wall, essentially with Debbie's case. And, you know, everybody knows what happened last year with the two family members, and they're still out there trying to discredit us, cause disruption to our other cases and stuff like that. And what I've heard through the grapevine is because of their unwillingness, so, you know, I don't know unwillingness is the word, but them not wanting us to have contact with Lubbock PD, that Lubbock PD has basically stopped communicating with us. And there's nothing I can do about it. I still send Sergeant Anderson tips when they come in, because occasionally we do get new information. I sent him an email this week. I did not get a response. So he might just be out of the office for the week. But I mean, I'm just being totally transparent with you guys that we do not have a working relationship with them anymore. And so therefore, without that, we can't do anything else on Debbie's case. And I can't force them to do their job. I mean, what they need to be doing is bringing people in and re-interviewing them, getting DNA prints and stuff like that. And I don't see any sign that that's happening. I hope it is, but we've not heard anything about that happening. So I know it's not the news that anybody wants to hear, and it's not the news I want to tell anybody, but it's unfortunately just the reality of the situation that we're in. And me and George have brainstormed for hours on end trying to figure out how we could possibly fix this. And we haven't really been able to come up with anything. So, George, you want to say anything or?
No, I mean, I think we're at a point now where we've tried to have a, I don't want to say like good relationship, but definitely a working relationship with Lubbock PD. Probably the next steps are we're probably going to have to turn adversarial with them, unfortunately, because, you know, they've had, let's see, Jim, we went to Lubbock in August of 2021. This is the end of January 2023. And to our knowledge, we know that they've reached out to a couple of potential witnesses. But other than that, we have no evidence at all that they have tried to interview any key person in this case, including Doug or Paul or Lex or whoever. So basically, we think what we surmise now is they put all of their eggs in the basket of, okay, are we going to find some DNA and that's going to tie this case up? Jennifer and I, Jennifer, you can confirm this. Our very first conversation about this case was we hoped there was DNA, but the most likely scenario, and we talked about this in June of 2021 after we talked to the family member the first time, and we knew it was going to be an old-fashioned, just bring some people in and let them start talking, and then eventually it unravels and the case gets solved. So they are obviously not taking that tactic, or if they are, there's no evidence of it. So I think we're going to probably have to develop some ways to put some pressure on them through public means.
Yeah. Because I mean, we've given them a lot of leads, to follow up on. It's not like there's not, you guys know, I mean, it's not like there's nothing out there to go after. There is. I mean, these 3 guys that have either lied to me and George or just flat out avoid us and refuse to talk. I told Anderson, there's nothing leading us away from that direction at this point. That's where everything's leading. And if they would just bring those guys in, who knows what they find out, but it doesn't appear that that's happening. And we've gotten a lot of other tips and leads behind the scenes that aren't publicized that we've sent to him too. And I don't know that they're following up on anything. I think it just became, I'm sure it became a nightmare. You've got the family on one side screaming about us, and then us basically trying to do some of the job of PD, but that's to help them, and there's this battle going on and they just don't want to deal with it. And I don't blame them. If I was the detective on the case, I wouldn't want to deal with it either. They
Jen,
got too many other fresh cases to work.
Jen, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit on that. I actually think that they're using that as an excuse.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that that's even in the calculation, because they can, quite honestly, they can be just as transparent with us as they can be with the family. There's no legal reason for them to be more transparent with the family than us at all. In fact, there should be, in some circumstances, less, because one of the primary suspects early on was a family member. And so the family has a vested interest in controlling the narrative of how the case is investigated, how it gets out to the public. I think they're using an excuse. What I think happened is they have been unable to find any DNA that can lead them in any direction, according to them. And so what I think is happening is, until they get some hard, like, forensic evidence, they're just not going to mess with it. Because, I mean, how hard is it to go out and, I mean, we know Doug hasn't been interviewed, and he should be the first person interviewed. He found the victim. It was his wife. He was the top suspect. He was polygraphed. I mean, interviewed multiple times. And we know, in going on 40, Jennifer, I can't believe I'm saying this. Remember, we used to say 46 years, and we're saying 48 now.
No.
I mean, what? Go interview these people.
Keeping everything secret hasn't worked for 48 years anyways, so I don't know.
Yeah.
We're obviously, we're very frustrated. I know you guys are too. Because everybody who's on this call right now, and a hell of a lot more people in our group, have put a significant amount of time, money, and effort into this. And it's just extremely frustrating for all of us to be in this situation because somebody disagreed with my decision. But anyways, it is what it is. I know some of you have written the mayor and the police chief. I don't think there's been any response to that. I know people want us to go back to the media. The problem is I don't have an update. I don't have a story for them because I don't have an update. And the other issue is what we ran into last year, where we scheduled a interview with media member and then that person turned on us. I can't 100% prevent that from happening again. And anything we try to do, that we try to announce publicly, certain people try to get ahead of it and destroy that opportunity for us. And so it just creates so many difficulties. And I don't have a good solution. I don't know if anybody on here does, but it's not that we don't want to keep helping Debbie. Our hands are just pretty much tied right now.
That's true.
Yeah. And I specifically asked, Melissa wanted to join us today anyways. I think you guys probably remember Melissa. She met us in Lubbock last year and has actually helped us start a partner team with our other friend, Justin Rimmel, who's a long-term podcaster and cold case investigator. And she and Justin have teamed up on a case in West Virginia. And some of you, I think, are in their Facebook group. You can see behind Melissa the banner for their podcast, Safe Haven. And I want Melissa to talk a little bit about the working relationship that they have with the investigator on that case, because it's basically the complete opposite of what me and George are experiencing with Lubbock. and yet it's working. So
It
Melissa,
is. It is.
you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, hi everyone. Good to see everyone again. So as you know, I'm Melissa Sandberg. I am working on the Judy Petty case out of Parkersburg, West Virginia. So as Jen said, we have a podcast called Safe Haven, and a little bit about this case. We have a Facebook group as well, Safe Haven, the unsolved murder of Judith Petty. And we release episodes every week. And Judy was a 48-year-old female who went one day to the library to return some books. And then she was found, 2 days later on her family's property that nobody was living at, in the cellar, and everything was on fire. So her remains, she was basically cremated. So we do know that she was dead prior to the fire, which is why we're investigating this. We started this case over the summer when we picked this specific case. And through our efforts, we have got finally, after 14 years, almost 15, this was in 2008 that Judy was murdered. We have, for the first time since 2008, 2010, that there's an assigned prosecuting attorney to this case. So thankfully, we were able to get the family the autopsy reports. In 14 years, they've never seen those. So they were finally able to see those. We got our prosecuting attorney assigned. And as Jen said, with the prosecuting attorney, we have an investigator. He was a police officer with Parkersburg. He now works for the prosecuting attorney. His name is Doug Strum, and he's fabulous. We just got off a Zoom call with him. I talk to him weekly, y'all, weekly. He and I are connecting. He shared all the case files, everything, photos, autopsy, all the statements of all the people who've been interviewed. He has not held back one thing. We are going to Parkersburg in 2 weeks, and he's allowing me to tag along with them as we go re-interview people. So like I joked with him, he doesn't know what he's asked for because I'm riding shotgun and we're going to be, I'll be talking his ear off. But, that is exactly how this should work. And I was a part of working with Jen and George on Debbie's case almost a year now. We're coming up to our year anniversary of meeting each other. And so, I have seen how Lubbock has not worked with Jen and George and have held everything back. And I knew that going in to Judy's case, of course. And it's been absolutely fantastic. Actually, Doug listens to our podcast. He's speaking to our experts that we bring on, just a 180 compared to Lubbock. And that's what is so sad. And I hope, Anderson listens to this, because listen, this is how it works. This is how it can be done. And it's a darn shame that he is not taking up Jen and George and the information and sharing it, because listen, Liz is not the next of kin. It's Doug, and, not my Doug, but Doug, Debbie's husband. He wants them involved, and that's who he should be listening to. And that's the darn shame in all of this, is that we could have already had an arrest in Debbie's case 2 years ago now, right? So it's just unfortunate that he's not following what Doug's wishes are, because as we see in Judy's case, the family is completely on board. They have talked to us. They have shared everything. And listen, we have all of the case files. They do not. So they haven't seen anything that we've seen. They have the autopsy, but they don't have anything else. And you know what? They're not asking for it. They're not demanding it. I'm sharing it with an arsonist, an arson expert. I'm sharing it with a canine expert. They don't care. Their ultimate goal is to find out who murdered their sister and their daughter. So it just goes to show how this actually works when you have a cooperating officials, and shame on Lubbock and Sergeant Anderson. And I hope Anderson listens to this, because, he's actually just, there's, as you can see, it's not going to hurt the case. Right. And Judy's case is 14 years and Doug is, which is newer than Debbie's. And yet Doug is sharing everything with us. There's no qualms about it, because again, he even said on our Zoom that he actually likes talking to all these experts that we are introducing him to get different points of view and hearing different things. And this was his first time. And I have to tell you, it's just been so great. And so, I just wanted to come on and say that, it doesn't have to be this way. And, Anderson and Lubbock PD, shame on them. They're just not interested in solving this at all, is my take at this point. So they don't want to put any more time into it. And not like they have to. You've given them everything. I mean,
Right.
darn, all they have to do is talk to these people. And that's exactly what we're doing on Judy's case. Doug and I are going to hit the road and go re-interview people and even bring people in and ask them to do, more than what's ever been done, because we have to start ruling people out and get serious about it if we want to solve it. And clearly Lubbock is not interested in solving Debbie's murder. So
One thing
that's my little rant.
Sorry to interrupt, Melissa. One thing I do want to let everybody know, there's so many unsolved cases out there here in Lubbock. And I'm not kidding. I mean, I pray every single night that at least one of those cold cases do get solved, because they're not. I mean, there was another case right after, what happened, to a little African-American little girl. And she was found, off the Idalou Highway in a field, and it's still not solved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean,
And, and that's the same, honestly, I'll have to say is the same with Parkersburg. Actually, Parkersburg has a really high unsolved case, unsolved homicides. But the difference is actually that they're actually interested in trying to solve them. That Doug and, is now actively saying, let's take a look at this, because, they want to try to solve some of these that could have been solved back in 2008, right? So at least it's a start, but Parkersburg faces the same thing. There's a lot of people in Parkersburg that we've talked to on location who don't trust the police department. They do not trust Parkersburg PD at all. They have a big drug problem in the area. There's a lot of unsolved cases, but this is a way that they can restore some of that faith in their police department and in their government. So, I'm glad that this is a case that they decided to work with us on, for sure.
Yeah. It's been it's been a very enjoyable process and very productive, but it's like Debbie still weighs on us, because we could have done the same thing with some cooperation on hers.
It's just Lubbock PD doesn't want to cooperate with none of them.
Nope. And that's unfortunately, it's not even just Lubbock PD, it's a lot of police departments across the country, but that's something over time that we as a team are obviously aiming to change and show that we can be trustworthy. We know what information needs to be kept confidential. We understand how to handle the family, and we all have different skill sets in our backgrounds that really work well together. And so we hope over time, as we help departments get more arrests, that, that obviously that's going to bring more credibility to what we do. And then maybe we can expand out. And it's a long-term vision, but
this is Teresa. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, Teresa.
Yeah.
I wanted to add a little bit of insight that I've had since my brother was killed, and my point of contact is Sergeant Anderson. They do not contact family, period. I mean, they contacted me in order to find out, to have me send photographs so they could identify. They contacted me to let me know that it was indeed my brother who had died. After that, it has been me or my sister calling and going up there. The Friday this week, now my brother died at the end of September. Friday this week, the funeral home called and told me that the final death certificate is in. They don't issue those until the autopsy report is in. Keeping in mind that they still have possession of my brother's belongings that were with him at the time that he died, because they needed to keep those in case they found criminal activity, to keep chain of custody clean on that. But since the mail has delivered the completed death certificate to the funeral home, I'm assuming that the police got notice of that at least in the same time frame that the funeral home did. But I've not received a phone call from them telling me that their report would be finalized in X amount of days or weeks or whatever, that I could come down and get Jack's property, that the case had been closed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just Debbie's case. I cannot imagine being a person who has nobody else advocating for her.
Yeah.
And I mean, my sister's a pit bull. I thought I was good. I thought I was pretty good, but when you get smacked in the side of the head with a baseball bat of a sudden and unexpected tragic kind of death, I got, probably like Doug, I got just disabled. And
Yeah.
Cammie and another friend went up there the first time I spoke with Sergeant Anderson. And he was kind. He was not unkind, but he was not forthcoming either. So whenever Liz says that, she's open to his information and that she's the only one, I doubt he's even been in contact with Liz. I doubt he takes her phone calls. Right. Every time I've called up there, I get a voicemail. I don't get a human. I have to go physically to his office and wait for him to come in. So I cannot imagine that someone whose family member was killed decades ago is any different. Yeah. I can't imagine that she has received a phone call or gotten any information we haven't. And I doubt that if Doug called, that he would call Doug back. It's not just you and George, Jennifer. Right. It's
we tried to get him and Doug connected, and it just doesn't happen. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is. And I just wanted to say this as a point of reference for anybody else who was wondering, is it just because of the animosity between Liz and the group or y'all, or is it because Liz has said to them, don't talk to Jennifer and George? No, they're just not communicative, period. So, take it for what it's worth. I don't think they're going to change their investigation protocols or style simply because it's been 40-something years. I think that they have decided that this is the way they do it, and that's that. And
agreed.
And it's easier for them because they don't have to remember, oh, we are releasing a little information on that one, and we're not releasing any information on this one or any of the other, however many they have. It's easier just to say, we don't do this, period, end of story. And it's lazy because it's sometimes.
Well, Teresa, it's worse than lazy. It doesn't work.
That's what I was saying. There are
it
times
doesn't
when
work.
Releasing, there are times when releasing a nugget at least would get somebody jittery, antsy, make a mistake. They are potentially hampering that possibility by being lazy and just saying, nope, this is how we do it. We'll never change. So I guess the best I can say of my interaction with them is at least they weren't unkind.
Yeah.
They didn't say hateful things to a grief-stricken family. That's the very least you could possibly say positive about any investigative agency. And well, at least they're doing the minimum and at least being kind. So,
but that's not the standard we should have to accept as the public.
Exactly.
Or especially as a victim family member,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, when the community is standing by and going, okay, do we have to wait until ostensibly anyone who could have murdered her is dead and now we can talk about it? Kind of like it's high level security in the armed forces, you know, because I'm sure when you retired, you got the you can't talk about this for X number of years.
Yeah.
And this seems to be their policy. And I doubt they'll even do the X years. You know, it may be 100 years from now and they'll still be saying, yeah, that was an unfortunate unsolved murder, and not
Yeah.
releasing any information. It's just stupid and
I
frustrating.
mean, George and I have discussed at length, should we just release everything that we got? But then I know that we're just gonna pay dearly.
Yeah.
I think
Well, then you
we
run
do
the
that.
risk, of future cases, the police looking at it and going, look what they did in Lubbock. They were trusted and they broke that trust. So
I mean,
bless
actually,
their heart.
Sergeant Anderson, he never, ever, ever once told us, don't release that case file. He never said that.
Oh,
It's only Liz. And what I made, she keeps saying that I lied to her. I promised her I wouldn't release the case file publicly, and I never did.
right.
I released some pages of it to the CrimeCon producers so they could get the proper experts on board for free, no charge to Liz and her family, to analyze this case and figure out who killed her sister.
Right.
Yeah, and I also point out too, and you guys know this, she had no problem being a guest on the Cold Case Club, that program. She had no problem after we gave her those files, after those files were given to a producer who was also a journalist. And I always point this out, Jennifer promised that she wouldn't release those publicly. I never made any promise. So when she gave them to me, I could have released them the next day. So her
Right.
argument is false. She's hiding behind that. What she wants to do is control the narrative of the case. And she was losing control. And it was a psychological thing for her where she needed to maintain control of this case. And Jennifer and I only have one objective, and that is to get justice for Debbie. And we don't care if we hurt her feelings.
Right. Yeah. Well, and as should be the case, frankly. I mean,
Yeah. We tell every family, we only work for one person, and that's the
Yeah.
victim. We don't work for the family. I mean, indirectly we do, right? We don't work for the police department. They surely don't control us. We only work for that victim, and we
Right.
take, whatever it takes that we have to do, we're gonna do it.
right.
But unfortunately, because of that whole mess, now every family we work for, we have to have them sign an agreement that they won't go to the media. They're not going to badmouth us. They're going to stay silent on the Facebook group. It's ridiculous that we had to do that, but we just could not endure this type of
Yeah.
situation again. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, twice now, right? The previous case you had.
Rebecca's case, no. I mean, Rebecca's case, she's got a crazy sister that doesn't know anything about investigating, and she loves attention too. But she caused a problem for everybody that looked in the case, not just us. And we never communicated with her like we did with Liz,
Right.
She was just out, but she's just, I don't know. I'm talking about Tiffany.
She's
George.
random.
Yeah, oh no, I'm
She's
listening the whole
she's
time.
Same but different. Same but different.
I
She
mean,
didn't-
we literally had an FBI behavioral analyst, and I won't drop his name because he's very prominent, ask us at one point if Tiffany was involved in that murder because of the way she was acting. I mean, that's how crazy it got. I mean, and here's the thing, the folks at CrimeCon, when they finally decided they weren't going to allow Debbie's case to be presented at CrimeCon,
Yeah.
literally the morning that the whole thing happened, the CEO of the company calls me and he goes, I know she was only 8 years old, but do you think it looks like she had something to do with the murder? And I'm like, I said, listen, I know she didn't, but I get what you're saying. This is insane.
Yeah. And you don't know that who potentially she might be
Sure.
covering for, because
I can't tell you how many people have messaged me that. Who is she covering for the killer? Like, I don't know.
yeah. I mean, you can say all day long that so-and-so or whoever has been cleared. Until the case is solved, nobody's clear.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
So,
So anyways, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent about all of that, but you know, again, we try to be honest with everybody and so you know what's going on. And
right.
we do still, you know, every presentation we give, we include Debbie's case in there and we talk about it. And you know, we're not dropping it. We're still trying to get as awareness as possible. But like I said, we can't force the PD to do their job.
No.
So,
Well, we appreciate y'all tremendously, and we hope you know that.
well, appreciate you guys.
I mean, when your work can be fruitful instead of just plowing the same field, we understand that. And we know that you're here should something come up that is reactivates.
Well,
But
for sure, if there's a development, I mean, you know, if there's an arrest or something like that, we'll be there.
oh yeah.
What I don't understand is why the lab is taking so long to come
But
back
we
with
don't
those
know
results.
they have.
They're
They've
done.
gotten
No,
that
they
stuff
have.
back.
Yeah.
We don't
it
know
does
that
not
the
take a
lab
year.
is taking any time at all.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
could be back.
they might, I mean, we were told they sent evidence in, that's all we were told. I have no proof of that. I don't know exactly when, but if it was sent in a year ago, like we were told, it definitely came back by now. So.
Yeah. So,
it does, I know that lab doesn't take this long,
right,
especially when they're being paid. So.
right.
I mean, in the Eliza Fletcher case, the jogger in Memphis, they had the DNA back in hours.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, before they even found him, they found his DNA and he was in CODIS because he had kidnapped a dude before. So they knew within hours of her vanishing. And, you know, that's just down the road for me. And I actually know people who knew her. And yeah, they had that guy like that. And again, they can't do that with every case, obviously. But this is a canard by them. Either they didn't send it in or they've already got the results and they don't have anything that they think is usable. I don't want to say that there's nothing usable because that would probably or might not be accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
But the fact
don't
is,
know.
you can't assume anything. You can't assume that it's not back. You can't assume that it was sent.
Right.
You can't assume that they tested anything that might have. I mean, do you remember when we were out at the crime scene, and who was straddling the dummy, the Melissa, yes. And do you
I think it was
remember
Melissa.
do you remember when she went to get up and she put her hands on the sand dummy's butt, and I said, "Look where your hands are."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, did they test the back of the seat of her pants? Who knows?
I have no idea.
Who knows
Don't
if
know.
they tested around the ankles where they had to have grabbed her to drag her back? Who knows?
Yes.
They could have just sent in a random piece of denim and said, "Say, test this," and then, okay, we tested, you know? So.
Well, Teresa, we don't even know that they still have her clothing. We hope that they do.
Okay.
We don't know that for a fact. So here's the thing: if they still have her clothing, I have a strong suspicion that the killer's DNA is still on that clothing, and the fact that they haven't arrested anybody or announced any major update. I mean, as far as the media goes in Lubbock, I think maybe the media needs to start putting some pressure on the PD, and maybe we need to start guiding them towards that. One thing I get sick and tired of in these murder cases, including Debbie's, is these TV stations and these newspapers. They go and they talk to the family, and the PD and the police are always, "Oh, we're working as hard as we can," and the family's like, "Well, they're just doing a great job," blah blah blah. And it's just like a crap story. I mean, that's not it. That doesn't get anything done. You got to go on there and say, "What are you doing?" I mean, tell us what progress you've made.
You need a KCBD investigates, not a tear jerk.
And
not something to pull the heartstrings.
Yeah.
I mean, the heartstrings are good, but
the original lady that y'all had from KCBD that y'all talked to is still there. She is. She came back.
Oh, she came back, Blair?
She came back. Yes.
I don't.
She
I
is
don't
back
know
at
that she's
KCBD.
hardcore. I don't know that
That's
she's
I'm gonna
hard.
email her right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shelley is still there. She is back. She has come back to Lubbock.
Oh, no, it was Blair that was the first one.
Blair was.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, Blair
Blair.
Sable.
The second one, I don't know if that person is hard pressing enough to affect
Talking about
any.
Elizabeth, you talking about Elizabeth Fitz?
No, no.
I call her fake news Fitz, so that's what she is to me now.
No, I'm talking about the one who was so generous and kind with her time and sat on the sofa with her and, and petted her hand, basically. You need somebody an investigative reporter who just asks the hard question. Barbara Walters them and says, it's been 47 years. What's the problem with them sitting on camera? And there's no, the fact of the matter is Lubbock is a small market. And if one of them gets to be known as the bitch who won't let him go, then they'll never get another interview.
Well, see, one of the head news reporters is Karen McKay.
But she's
for
also nice.
KCBT. Yeah. And then there's Abner Aresti. Those
And
are the
he's
two
also
main
nice.
ones.
Actually,
But they're
Teresa,
also
I'll
very
disagree with
nice.
you to a degree, is I've always been tough on sources in all stories I've done. And the problem is that when you bite them, they don't want to get bitten again. And if they don't do the interview the second time or the third time when something comes up, they always do. Because human beings have a natural attraction towards like somebody who's being tough and aggressive. We just like that as humans. And, I can't tell you how many times I would go and just bust a county judge over the head, like they were misspending money. They were doing all these things. I'd go in there and blast them and they'd be like, why are you coming in here writing all these stories about our little county? It's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. I guarantee you the very next time I called them on their cell phone, hey, I need to talk to you, I am the first person they called back.
Because they don't want you reporting that they wouldn't talk to me.
Yeah, because they know I would. I mean, I had a sheriff one time. There was a murder case, and
how about this?
This woman had her daughter the daughter and mom had the girl's boyfriend kill the girl's dad, the husband. They dumped his body in a river, and they fled to Macon, Georgia. And I called this sheriff up because they arrested him there, and the extradition order to bring him back was FOIable, and it had all the information of why they were being extradited. And the sheriff told me, he said, I'm not giving you that. I don't care what the law says. And I said, well, are you kidding me right now? And his name was Gary. And he said, well, when Gary tells you he's not going to give you something, Gary means he's not going to give you something. I said, okay. So the third sentence in the story I wrote was, when Gary says he's not going to give you something, he called me up and he said, you made me look like an absolute dumbass. And I said, no, Gary. I said, you made you look like a dumbass. And I guarantee you from that point on, he never, ever violated FOI with me. Now, he did it with every other reporter because they wouldn't call him to the mat.
Right. Now, here's a thought. A lot of the locals won't do that because I think they're afraid. What if we went to the journalism department at Tech and maybe they could make it an assignment?
Ooh.
See
I like
who could come up with, who could get an interview and get questions answered. And it wouldn't be us doing it. It would be Tech,
Teresa, I mean, I kind of like that idea because I've done projects with colleges before where we would send college students in to get documents like through FOI that agencies were required to give them. The only problem is that college students are wholly inexperienced. And even if they could get an interview with, let's say Anderson agreed to do it, a college student, I've mentored, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of college students. I've never met one. Well, there's one. I met one time, and he's a big time investigative reporter now. He's a very good friend of mine. And he works for a nonprofit, which is kind of cool. But most of the time they just don't have the chops to do it. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
George, do you think we could probably get your friend to help us on this case?
Yeah. Why not?
maybe he's based in Tennessee. The nonprofit he works for, their focus is more like on like social issues through like government action. So like a lot of legislatures are in session right now, so they're working on stuff like public policy stuff. So they do deep dive investigative journalism. I could ask him just to see if he wanted, because I'd love to collaborate with him because he's a great guy, but it would be a stretch because he has no connection to Lubbock.
Yeah.
I cannot listen. You guys keep saying Lubbock's small. Lubbock is not small.
No.
There are 300,000 people who live in Lubbock County.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know what happens. I'm from Texas, is that we think that Lubbock's small because it's in Texas.
Right.
Half the states in this country don't have a city bigger than Lubbock. So it's not small. And there's got to be at least one aggressive, decent, honorable journalist who's not afraid to go after these guys.
There's hardly even any reporters at the newspaper anymore because USA
They're all
Today.
working from home.
No,
Oh, we
USA
know.
about it and nobody works there. They just take the UP.
Well, Teresa, Cammie, let me ask you guys a question. So, and I'm going to give you an example, and I'm trying. I know there has to be something like this in Lubbock, and maybe this is something you guys can find. So in Northeast Arkansas, I have a friend named Stan Morris who runs a thing called NEA Report, and it's a social media company, meaning he's only on Facebook, he has a website, and all of his stuff, like he's an independent news organization, and he just does whatever he wants. He covers whatever he wants. He goes after people. He doesn't care. I know that there has to be a similar type social media company in Lubbock. Somebody who's probably just on social media, Facebook, Twitter, something. And I haven't been able to find anything like that yet. Do you guys have any clue or any idea if something like that exists?
I don't.
If it does, I don't know of anything.
I did have one little,
Unless,
I mean, it's a big stretch and it's not local, but the 5:30 news guy, the national news guy, and I don't know if it's ABC or CBS, I think it's Mike Pelly, went to Tech.
Scott Pelly, it's Scott Pelly.
Scott Pelly, yeah, he went to Tech.
That's right. I knew that. Yes.
Yeah,
And I think Scott was on CBS.
okay.
He was.
So maybe we could start a little letter writing campaign to him.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
We've got to do some.
It did warrant a Netflix series. You know, it's not like it's just a little case that nobody has ever heard of because it's on Netflix.
What about Dateline?
Yeah,
It's
maybe
not
you can throw
solved.
it their way.
Dateline won't do anything with a case that's not
Well,
solved.
Oh,
But George, we did meet with the 2020 producer like more than a year ago, and she was very interested, and she pitched Debbie's case for an episode, but they got to have cooperation from all sides. So the
police
family's
and
got to cooperate, law enforcement, and we know that certain family members get wind of 2020, you know what's going to happen. And I'm not.
well, I mean,
I
nobody
I don't know.
nobody here is wanting to sacrifice the case for credit. So maybe we could just tell them,
Right.
hey, go after it, and don't tell them we're involved at all. And
Yeah.
maybe if Liz can deem that she's in control, like she thought she was on Netflix, maybe she'll let them do it.
The problem is, and this is not, we're not trying to be egotistical, but you can't tell Debbie's full story without including me, George, and our group.
Right, but they
You
can
just can't.
investigate. They can investigate and report on you instead of you coming to
Yeah.
them. Maybe they could say, "Hey, we've found this Facebook page and interview you under the auspices of they found you. You didn't find them."
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, and I'm not going to rule that out because in the Rebecca Gould case right now, we've got what, George, Cold Case Files, Dateline, and 2020 are all talking to us about doing episodes. So we built those connections at least to those
Yeah.
shows. So
And maybe if you told
we'll
them the
keep those.
difficulty and told them you'd have to
What-
go back door. And don't tell them we had any contact with you.
Mhm.
Maybe they would be willing. You know,
It
even
would,
at
it would,
site.
Teresa, it wouldn't matter. Liz would get
Yeah.
mad no matter what. And here's the thing, Liz can't shut down a 20, if they want to do it, they're just going to do it. They don't give a
Well, I
crap.
know, but I'm saying Jennifer said they needed cooperation from all avenues. And if Liz is a big problem with that, let her believe it's her thing. You know,
I actually think it's so funny that I actually think that a great launch point for 2020 would be if they wanted to do it. Doug's daughter, Doug had 2 kids after Debbie died, and they
Right.
had no clue that he was married before. But then they found these clippings, these newspaper clippings, and I guess it was like a scrapbook, Jen, and
I
his
think
daughter
so.
was telling me about it one day, and they just found him and they had no clue. And so they finally started asking questions. And then so Doug then finally had to explain that he was married and that he had tragically lost his first wife because she had been murdered. And
Wow.
I always thought that was a much better family angle just from that perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I
I
may
mean,
have found one in Austin, Texas. Austin's the capital, here in Texas, but I may have found a company in Austin.
A social media company.
Yes.
Yeah, Jen, I'm desperately looking for the Texas version of Stan Morris.
Yeah, that's what we need. I know, that's what we need.
Yeah, we need that guy.
Yeah.
Well,
There may
has
be some in
anybody talked-
Houston too.
Has anybody talked to Floyd Mitchell? To see
Oh,
if
You're gonna
we can
have to
get
tell me
something
who
done
he
about
is.
this?
Who is that, Deborah?
The new chief of police, Floyd Mitchell.
Oh, yeah, I do know that name. Well, Cammy, you sent a message, right? I think Debbie Valentine has sent a bunch
Debbie
too.
did too. I thought Debbie would be on here, but she's
Yeah,
not.
she's supposed to be, actually. I forgot.
Because I had a friend, her daughter was killed, and I think it took them 15 years to finally figure out who done it. And they arrested him, and now he's sitting behind bars for a life sentence because he drug her, then ran over her and hauled ass.
Wow.
And they finally found him and extradited him back to Lubbock. And she was in the court when he went to court, and they give him life in prison for that. Not
Good.
because of that, because number one, he dragged her to death. Then number two, he ran over her.
Yeah.
And she still lives with that to this very day. And she keeps telling me, I talk to her all the time. She said, why did he have to do this to my daughter? She did not do nothing wrong.
Who was that, Debbie?
Oh Lord, I can't remember her name, but her mother's name is Mary Trevino.
Okay.
And that woman, I went to school with her. Not a day goes by that she doesn't call me with, I mean, it's like, I can't do this. I said, you've got to let it go. She's in a better place than we are. And she said, but I can't. I said, they've got her murder in prison. Don't go there. Don't let it eat you alive with this.
Yeah. It's so
Ladies,
difficult.
I'll say this. Another thing that could help us is, we wanted to do some book signings in Lubbock. And I did an event last week, and I gave away copies of Silent Silhouette, Debbie's book. They charge like $50 a ticket to get into this event. And I went and gave a presentation on a little bit of Debbie's case, Rebecca Gould, the other case that Jennifer and I worked on, and then West Memphis 3 and some other things. And I was more than willing to do it. And Jennifer and I give a lot of presentations. So it's something that we would like to do. But we need to know what we would need is a venue and people to show up, probably like a venue that serves drinks and food, stuff like that.
Okay. I have a
And-
friend that works at Second Chance Bookstores, and I can get her. Her name's Kelly Leatherwood. I went to school with her. She has
Okay.
agreed to let us use her bookstore.
Okay, because what we'll need I mean, Jennifer and I are more than willing to travel at some point to do it, because if we can't get a big time media person onto this in that area, then we're just gonna have to grow the group organically. And we would be more than willing to come back to Lubbock and do some events. But the problem is that neither one of us are in Lubbock, so there's no way we can organize it. So someone else is just gonna have to step up to organize it and put it together. And if you could do that, I mean, I did an event called, what was it? Gosh, Jennifer, my brain's freezing. It was
Cocktails and culprits.
cocktails and culprits. Yeah. And that thing sold out like crazy. And it was themed based on a couple of local cases. There is no reason why we couldn't do the exact same thing in Lubbock. It's just going to take some organizing to do. And if you guys are not friends with me on Facebook, go look at my Facebook page and you'll see the pictures of what we did. And this was just the brainchild of a lady who owned an event center. She said, I want to do this. Do you think it'll work? I said, I think it's a great idea. And it was so well received. Jennifer and I will probably be going back to do one in May there. I can't imagine any reason why we couldn't on a weekend do 2 or 3 events like that in Lubbock. And you know, we might only reach several hundred people, but that would be a great get, because we've got this is the bottom line. If you guys want this case solved, there's like maybe 1 or 2 people out there, if they'll just open their mouth, it'll be solved. And we got to we got to reach them. And I don't think we've reached them yet.
Right.
George, about when do you want to do the book deal so that I can visit with Kelly about it?
Anytime. I mean, you just have to give me some dates, because Jennifer and I obviously have pretty busy schedules. I mean, we're out of town a lot.
Well, this bookstore is right on 50th Street that she owns. So it's in the heart of Lubbock as it is. So it's a good one. And then there's one downtown called Wild Lark Bookstore. It's a brand new bookstore, and they sell those type of books, you know, kind of like with Debbie and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and I'm definitely not opposed to going to bookstores, because I've done hundreds of book signings at bookstores. But I think we also want to do an event too. That's kind of the thing, is like we could buttress
a social event, not just
we want to do a social
signing.
event that brings in a lot of people. And you know, like even the restaurant that we all met at when we were in Lubbock, a space like that where maybe they have an indoor space where they have access to a TV where we can do a PowerPoint, and then we can section off part of the restaurant. And you know, but that's what we want to do. We want to do an event and then buttress it maybe with visiting some bookstores or something like that. Because we've got to get the word out. I think if anybody reads that book, they're hooked. I can tell you right now, I've been getting messages all week from people who attended that event. They've already read the book, and it was a week ago. So that if you can if you can bring them to us, we will sell them on her case, and that's only going to help us grow the network.
Okay, let me talk to Kelly. I'll go in person this coming week. I'm off actually from work in Texas Tech myself tomorrow, so I'll have plenty of time to do it tomorrow.
Hey,
and hopefully she'll be in.
Tammy, do me a favor and take it, even if you just open up your Facebook page to my page and you see what we did, just show them the pictures of the crowd, how we did the event. Because the thing of it is, I've been getting calls out the wazoo around Arkansas for people who want to do something like this, because true crime is just a thing right now. And, you know, a lot of ladies like to go out Friday, Saturday night. They want something to do. And we may as well drag them into our network and have them help us solve Debbie's case. I mean, they're not doing anything better, so they may as well help us.
Right. There's a lot, you know, it seems kind of like a more high-end space would be good, because people like to go out and feel like they're not just showing up and having a beer, but, you know, like you said, it's an event, you know, where they
they serve food, they serve drinks, people bought tickets for it, you know, they had a line at the door an hour before it started. And so we want to do something like that.
If they invest in a ticket, then they'll show up.
Yeah.
And they charged them $50 a ticket, which I thought was pricey. And you know what? They all just, we could have sold 3 times as much.
The people the people who pay $50 a ticket are also the people who may have been out with officials, city officials, police officials, and might, might be able to apply a little pressure.
Teresa, that is an excellent point, because what if hypothetically the police chief's wife goes?
Right. Or the
And it
police
becomes a
chief's
cause
wife's
for
best
her.
friend.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So anyway, if you guys, and I'm serious, I know we talk about this stuff sometimes, but if you guys could put some thought into that or come up with an idea and make it happen, we'll do it. I mean, we'll bring a presentation, we'll come to Lubbock, we'll take care of all that, but we just need we need your help. I mean, this is a part of the process, and it's something we can't do, and it's not going to happen unless you guys take the bull by the horns.
Okay.
Well, and that would warrant a news story. Hey, we're having an event.
That would,
Exactly.
yeah, that would be like
That would
an
be
update.
very good.
Yeah.
And the
Okay,
video
let me
cameras might
check
show
that out.
up and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I want to
Yeah.
do the bookstore thing. Plan on that too, but event needs to be the fulcrum of it. And guys, I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to have to get off here. A good friend of mine that I used to work with, he passed away suddenly last week, and I've got to go to a memorial service. So it was great seeing you guys.
George, I'll let you know once I talk to Kelly about the bookstore part at least.
Okay.
I'll start poking around and asking about the event.
Teresa, I very much appreciate that. And it was good seeing y'all, and you guys all have a blessed Sunday. And
You do
Jennifer,
too.
Bye.
there's only one part of your Sunday that I hope is not blessed, and that's your team later on when my Cowboys destroyed them.
We're gonna
Yeah,
win. We're
because
gonna
the Cowboys
win.
are gonna win.
Hey, if you
Cowboys
win,
are gonna
listen,
win.
if you win, my phone's gonna be off for 2 days, so don't even bother calling me or
No, we can't go 2 days without talking.
Well, the
so.
Cowboys are gonna win, George.
I know. That's what you know what, Jennifer, you know what, this is no joke. When we decided to do this, she texted me when we were gonna do this Zoom, and she's like, yeah, she goes, we gotta be off there early. And I said, why? She goes, because I want you to be able to watch the 49ers kick your team's ass. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh no, Cowboys are on a roll. They're gonna win it.
It's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tough one, but I'm looking
It's gonna
forward
be
to
a
it.
close
Who's
game,
gonna
I
beat
think.
them?
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Alright.
definitely a close game. I hate to tell you that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, y'all have a blessed Sunday. And of course, Jennifer, I will keep my phone on.
I know you will.
Sounds good.
Take care,
See ya.
George.
Take care, George.
I will. For those who are remaining, I'm just gonna pitch the current case me and George are working on. You guys might already know, but it's a case out of Port Orchard, Washington.
Yeah.
And the victim's name is Linda Malcolm.
Yeah,
I
I've
think
been
most of you
following
are in
that
that
one
group.
very closely too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
haven't
we,
been able to keep up, but I will. I'll catch up.
No, I know. I understand.
Well, I mean,
So
it's interesting, and it's got to be solved, just like Debbie. I mean,
I think it's
if
totally
there's nothing
solvable.
to do on Debbie's case but footwork during the day, might as well catch up, and maybe some good can come from, just
Yeah.
a different set of ears.
Can
all
you
the way
go
out in
back and
Texas.
kind of recap about the latest case that you're working on, Jennifer? So that people who may not know about it?
Yeah. It's Linda Malcolm is the victim, and she was murdered in 2008 in Port Orchard, Washington. She was stabbed about 18 times, and then her house was set on fire. And she was definitely dead before the fire. They determined that through the autopsy. So and obviously with 18 stab wounds, she didn't do that to herself.
Right.
So those are the basics of the case. She lived alone. She wasn't married, and she didn't have kids. She was 47 years old. Worked in the paralegal field for many years. She was a Navy veteran, and that's how she ended up in Washington. It was her last duty station, and so she just stayed there. But it's going really well. Like, our methodology is working. We've gotten in touch with somewhere around 50 people already who knew her or had some connection to her. I met with the detective on the case. I got the autopsy report. I got the fire department investigation report and a few other things from them. I don't have the full case file, but we'll get there. And they're very, very willing to collaborate. And so we're hoping, you know, we just stay on this positive path, and every interview I do that I get information from, I send it to the police. You know, we brought Jeff back again. Remember him on Debbie's case? He talked about the knife. So we brought him in again to analyze Linda's case, and he gave us some great insight. He'll be on a podcast episode. I gave all his information to police, and they were really thankful because they're a tiny department. They don't have a knife expert. They don't have an arson expert, you know, so we're able to provide them new analysis that they didn't have.
Do
So
they
so far,
know what type of knife it was?
yeah, it's a single edged blade like a kitchen knife, but Jeff's like, I can't say 100% it was a kitchen knife, but he said it's very, very different from Debbie's case, just single edged blade and a long one. So probably not any type of pocket knife. That's why he leans towards it being a kitchen knife, but he can't say 100%. And he thinks he thinks Linda actually may have armed herself. And that's something that he goes into on our podcast episode, which I thought was really interesting because I never thought of that. But she has a ton of defensive wounds, so she was putting up a fight.
Wow.
So it's a fascinating case. I think we can really help with it because there's so many risks and extra steps the killer took, same as in Debbie's case, you know, that they didn't have to do, and that tells us a lot.
So she knew her killer too, just like in Debbie's case, right?
We're almost certain, yeah, almost certain.
Yeah.
Because there's no forced entry to the home. So either she let them in or the person knew how to sneak in, but either way, that tells us they'd been there before.
Maybe bum rushed her as she was unlocking the door or something. Yeah.
Could be, yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're putting together season 3 of Break the Case right now. I'm hoping the first episode will be out in a couple weeks. And I'll do the same as Debbie's case, write a series of articles, you know, we'll do some YouTube stuff, we'll do some live Zooms like this. And because, you know, the more awareness we can spread over all the media platforms, the better. And we already got the newspaper to do an article. We're going to get the TV station out there when we go up in April. So, you know, we're kind of going through the same steps that we did on Debbie's case. And so far it seems to be working pretty well.
Good.
Yeah. So, but the group, I think, are you all in there? It's Unsolved Murder of Linda Malcolm. That's our group.
Yeah.
So if you're not, join, and you know, it doesn't matter where you live or what your background is, you know, we want everybody's in. So
yeah,
I just appreciate you guys following along and helping us.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm actually following all the cases between y'all and Melissa's.
Yeah.
I think Melissa and Justin are they're gonna get an arrest, I think.
That's awesome.
So
like arrest with all the cases.
I know. One at a time.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any other questions that I can try to answer?
Debbie, do you have any questions?
No, when they do the event, if they'll let me know a day or two prior, maybe I can get a hold of Wes Nessman at 94.5 and have him announce the event.
Oh, he's one of the best. He's one that Wes Nessman is.
Yes, I am a Wes Nessman fan. I watch his Frankenstein Church on Sunday mornings.
Yeah,
He's
just
a
remember
character
that
too.
name and remind us about that, and we'll try to get a hold of him.
Yeah,
he's a real character. That guy is.
Interesting. Okay.
Actually, I do know another radio personality. His name's Kid Manning. I used to work with him at VXI. I can get a hold of him too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of radio personalities, but
if whenever all this happens and there's time, you know, we'd also be willing to go over to Texas Tech and maybe talk to a couple, like a journalism class. We've done that, or if they have criminal justice classes. I don't know if anybody has a connection to Texas Tech, but that's something else.
No, I did Wayland, but I'm doing everything
and we can
online.
also just call the departments, so not a big deal. But
Texas Tech does have a criminal law stuff.
Okay.
You know, the Texas Tech Law School, that would be a good start right there, you know, to bring that case to.
Sure.
They have that would probably be one of the best locations right there is the law school at Tech.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a
And
really good
speak to
idea.
Blake Groves because I work with him in KT Black. So,
Okay,
if you want me to, I can email you all that stuff.
yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great whenever you have time. Well, thank you guys for taking time out of your Sunday. I hope I didn't interrupt your football watching, but no.
It's
No.
all good.
Game coming up in an hour, so. you know what
Yeah,
I'll be doing.
5:30.
Yeah.
5:30.
Thanks for taking time to meet with us.
Absolutely, anytime.
We'll
So thanks for hanging in there.
soon.
Okay,
Sorry
take care,
about the rough
everybody.
start trying to get Zoom pulled up, you know.
Yeah.
Just I was
You got it,
connected and
though,
then
you
I
got
kept losing you and then I keep.
That's kind of
We've had
crazy.
some issues with the internet around here in Lubbock, so.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
All right.
You have
Take
a blessed
care.
Sunday,
All right.
Jennifer.
Thank you. You too. Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.